Coming up on Front Porch Politics.
It's hard to look back and think of any other time in history where we've seen this new amount of demand for electricity coming online this quickly.
The power play at hand as plans for massive data centers grow exponentially.
We're going to need all of those generating resources that are economically viable.
The centers bring tax money and jobs, but also concerns about water, noise, and electricity.
It is obviously this community does not want data centers in their community.
Just the thought of it kind of boils my blood.
Will there be enough power?
I mean, right now, I think over the next year, AI companies will spend over $600 billion on AI.
And who will pay for it?
They need to be carrying the weight of the cost that they are putting onto the system.
Hey everybody, welcome on in to another edition of Front Porch Politics. I'm Tim Boehm. This month we're talking about what is likely the most important issue facing North Carolina over the next couple decades, but an issue very few people even know about. How do we provide enough power for the growth in North Carolina, but also the growth of AI and data centers? It's an issue playing out in communities all across the state. It's 5:30 on a cool February night in Canton.
I want to create a baseline of truth, what brings us here today.
A line already snakes around the temporary town hall, anxious homeowners waiting for their moment at the mic.
This isn't right.
In a word, people are worried.
Everything that Canton has built within the last couple of years after all of the hurricanes and the fighting and the mill being gone, it's all going to be destroyed.
They are worried about water.
So if this breaks down, it is going to pollute our water, and we do have cattle that drink from the Pigeon River.
They are worried about sound.
Round-the-clock noise.
They are worried about something that might not even come. But just the idea of it has made Town Hall as popular as the high school football field on a Friday night.
The data center coming in really is a scary thought for me.
The amount of jobs that it will produce, I don't think it is worth it to put it there to jeopardize the integrity of the town.
On the agenda, a moratorium on data centers.
For some communities, it works, and those communities, embrace it. But again, you and I have talked several times before, North Carolina is a collection of these small towns. And what works in one doesn't mean it's going to work in the other.
A town nearly destroyed by floods in 2021. A town still reeling from a mill closure and 1,000 jobs lost in 2023. And a town yet again recovering from devastating flooding in 2024 from Hurricane Helene.
Yes, it creates revenue for your town, which is wonderful. I would love nothing more from going into a very unstable economic situation because of the mill closure and the floods to having plenty of money in my general fund. But again, we cannot sacrifice the gifts of the Almighty for the almighty dollar.
But there's another side to this electric debate, the side you have not heard much from until now.
I think over the next year, AI companies will spend over $600 billion on AI. And it's just getting started.
Drew Nations is a North Carolina native and data center developer. We should say right off the bat, he does not represent all data centers nor AI companies, nor does he have anything to do with the situation in Canton.
This is a site we recently rezoned to be a data center campus, and that's really what our company does.
Entertain a motion. You have a second?
Entertain a motion, I second.
In January, he gained approval from Stokes County Commissioners to turn this 1,850 acres of former farmland into a massive data center project.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Data centers really are the physical infrastructure of our digital world. So when you go to send a text message, when you go to pull photos from, back in your iPhone from the cloud, you're pulling it from a data center. When you watch a podcast online, maybe on YouTube or something, the viewers here, they're watching it through a data center.
Roughly 100 data centers already exist in North Carolina, but most of those help with common modern internet needs. New data centers in the pipeline will power AI, which requires significant more computing and power. The U.S. Department of Energy reports it uses 10 to 50 times the amount of energy compared to an average office building. Nations is going to help sort through, from his perspective, some of the common concerns and sometimes misinformation we hear about data centers. For a moment, let's go back to that Canton Town Hall meeting.
There's a data center that just got built in Texas, $2.1 billion facility, and it only employs 38 people once the construction's done. So those aren't real jobs.
Many of these centers will not fill as many jobs as textile mills did in the past. However, in Stokes County, it could create up to 500 jobs in a county 45,000 people call home. Nation says the biggest boost is tax revenue. This one spot adding potentially $40 million a year in Stokes County.
It's not just 1 or 2% of their annual budget. Sometimes it's over 50% of their annual budget to a county you could add another 50% from just one of these projects. So when you're talking about, money that could be in the hundreds of millions of dollars over a 5 or 10 year period, or even in the billions, that's a great opportunity.
Another concern that buzzes around, the sound from data centers. Again, that came up in Canton.
But it will create constant noise, and it will be audible from our porches and inside our homes, even if you're close enough like me.
Our commitment is, whether it's through acoustical dampening and silencers and other sort of sound mitigation, we will have to solve that problem to make sure that our site is no louder at the edges than it is today.
The amount of power to juice these data centers creates a lot of heat, and water is used to cool it. Depending on size, these centers can use 300,000 to 5 million gallons a day, similar to an entire small town. In Canton, they worried about the release of that water into the Pigeon River, still recovering from the old days of the mill.
No one's going to want to eat food that is grown with the water from a data center.
There's two types of cooling. There's evaporative cooling, that's an open loop system, and then there's air cooling, which is a closed loop system. Evaporative cooling usually uses millions of gallons of water a day, and in the drought scenario, that's a little concerning. We make a commitment on all of our projects to use air-cooled and to do closed-loop systems.
But that does not mean all developers will follow suit. Now to the really big challenge, electricity and who pays how much. These data centers require a lot of juice. I'll be honest, it's a complicated topic, and the numbers, percentages, and terms, it can overwhelm you quickly. But here's the bottom line. Nationwide, the International Energy Agency estimates AI and data centers could account for 50% of increased electricity need by 2030 alone. In North Carolina, demand grew 7% from 2005 to 2025. By 2040, Duke expects demand to grow 16 to 60%. Some of these data centers need as much power as a small city or more.
Some power's generated maybe right next door that you can see. Some might be generated down the street. There's all these different places that all come together. There's redundancy in our grid too. It's not one single generation source. But generally, where there's power plants, there's also going to be robust transmission infrastructure. That's really what you need.
Regardless, we need a lot more power and fast.
In North Carolina, probably 3 years ago, we were seeing very modest growth in energy use. It was down to like 0.5%. But today, we're looking at 5% growth over the next decade.
Yes, population growth has played a role, but the boom of AI and what it requires is ultimately fueling the growth.
We're going to need all of those generating resources that are economically viable. We want to be able to maintain reliability, but we also want to be able to assure that our customers have low costs.
Kendall Bowman is president of Duke Energy North Carolina.
You're going to need more gas plants. We're going to need more renewables, solar, battery storage. We're looking at building new nuclear. We're also seeking second licenses for all of our existing nuclear fleet. These are assets that are going to run 80 years.
In the simplest of terms, Duke Energy says it needs more of everything.
We're going to run some of those coal units longer than we had originally anticipated. And part of that is because of all of this growth that we're seeing. It's also economically viable to run them a little longer than we planned. I think ultimately they're going to come to the end of their useful life, but we're also monitoring what I'm going to call advanced nuclear technologies.
But worries remain among some industry watchdogs.
Duke's latest plan is, largely based on the promise that small modular nuclear reactors will be available from a commercial standpoint and from a permitting standpoint, in the mid to late 2030s. And that's a big bet, a big gamble to be taking right now.
How confident are you that these are going to work out and deliver what's needed for the state?
So that's the great thing about the way we do our resource plans.